In today's video, we're going to be taking a look here at the current conditions. We're going to be diving into those tropical disturbances that we need to talk about and also the upcoming pattern as well. Let's just get straight into things though. And first things first, we're taking a look at our current radar imagery. And as you can see, there's a lot going on around the nation. We have some showery and stormy activity up here in the northern United States, especially the northwest. And then also the north central United States here, we have some activity going on. We also have this cold front that kind of jumps off the board here along the eastern United States. Yesterday evening, that was pretty bad for those of us along kind of the middle and northern regions of the eastern United States. But it is a lot cooler today. I think it's going to be like 78 here today. So it's going to be quite cool compared to what it typically is this time of year. So expect a very cool day along the eastern United States today. We have our typical tropical activity going on, and by that I mean tropical thunderstorms, not tropical storms like an actual tropical disturbance. It's more like tropical climate type thunderstorms, if that makes sense. We also have some activity down here in the south central United States that we need to talk about in a little bit. Let's just jump up to the the northwestern United States real quickly, and we do have just some showery activity kind of spreading around this region, moving up like this. So just like this. We're seeing some of this activity move along the region. Some lighter rainfall mostly, but there is some heavier pockets in there. These are moving quite quickly around though, and they should be moved out actually by later on today. It's my expectation at this point. We do have a little bit of activity here that pops up for some of the northern Four Corner states, but mostly the most interesting thing here is this monsoon activity here taking place. We have just really stationary showers here in New Mexico and Arizona. And then for Texas, Oklahoma, we have some thunderstorms and some showers moving around. So there's a lot of activity going on in this region. As we move up to the north central United States as well, we do have some heavier showers and thunderstorms taking place throughout this region, kind of moving across the region just like this. So we see that activity happening in there. See, what haven't we talked about? There is this tropical disturbance in the Gulf, and this is expected to actually hit Texas, and we will see that take place. We'll look at the spaghetti models a little bit later on. We'll take a look at the model guidance where we'll get a deeper dive into that. As we take a look here at the southeast Florida mostly, we see these little tropical thunderstorms that I was talking about. They're mostly moving around the state at this point, so both east and west of the state, but I expect that we will see these move through the state at some point today. And then for the southern region of the cold front there, we do have some activity happening still for the Carolinas, and we actually have a tornado report coming offshore of Charleston, South Carolina. So around here is where we had that. I don't know why I just drew an L. I guess I'm so used to drawing cold or low pressure systems. But along this cold front, we have this storminess still stretching underneath as the cold front stretches like this. Then I guess we had a storm offshore of Charleston. Yeah, where there was must have been a water spout, I guess, but that's really interesting. Charleston pilot boat reported a funnel cloud approximately 3 to 4 nautical miles outside of Charleston Harbor. It did not touch the surface of the water. Okay, well that's interesting. Anyway, we have thunderstorms, apparently tornadic, happening offshore and onshore of South Carolina there, which is really interesting. And then last but not least, we have some showery activity. It actually kind of is least, but we do have some showery activity moving across the New England region there, but that should all be moved out by later this afternoon. Now, what we're going to do here is we're going to move on, and we're going to take a look at the upcoming pattern, the upcoming tropical activity, and even some upcoming severe weather. All right, now here we are taking a look at the upcoming pattern, and by the time we're reaching later today on Tuesday, June 28th, we can see that there is just some storminess down here for the southeastern United States, a little bit up here for the northwestern United States, and also the north central United States. See some activity there. Let's just keep this going towards Wednesday afternoon, and we see this really pick up here in the southeast. We're seeing this tropical disturbance here as well, moving towards Texas, like I mentioned. So we're seeing that move towards that region. We can see where the jet stream is. There's just a lot of activity in there along the northern United States. Thursday, June 30th, we continue to see this southeastern activity, Gulf State activity, etc. Basically, we see this cold front or this low pressure system here with the cold front stretching underneath as well, developing. Friday, July 1st. We have this low right here and then a stretching cold front just like this where some colder air is able to make its way in kind of like this, I would say, as it's heading in. And there is some storminess along that. We're also seeing this storminess continue for the southeast. That seems to be a trend here. Saturday, June 2nd, we see that there is a low up there, and we're seeing this stretching cold front down here, bringing activity throughout the entire eastern United States around the 2nd, and even through the 3rd time frame, we're seeing some storminess down here in the eastern United States. Now for July 4th, 4th of July, this is the afternoon hour, and I'll show you the evening in a minute. I guess that's a good idea too. We have some activity up there in the north central and northwestern United States, as well as the southeast here. And by the time we're reaching probably the time where there would be fireworks happening, it'd be sometime in between here and here probably. We see some activity still hanging out in the southeast, mostly in this corridor at this point, and then mostly up here. So these are the areas where you can expect potential implications, potential things that kind of disrupt firework activity around those areas. Is kind of points where we're watching at this point. And then by that day after, this is going to be July 5th, we see some activity here in the southeast still, some activity here in the Great Lakes, but it's pretty isolated regions. This pocket does move towards the eastern United States. We are seeing mostly storminess along this region on July 6th. That's going to be a Wednesday. And then for Thursday, July 7th, we see a really warm pattern, it looks like, honestly, with a lot of storminess in this region in here, but a lot of warm, especially for the central United States, but even for the eastern United States is what I would anticipate. Now, for the total precipitation through the next 10 days, if you're anywhere in the whites, you're expecting no precipitation. If you're anywhere in the grays, it's going to be about a 1/10 of an inch or less. If you're anywhere in the greens, it's going to be a 1/10 of an inch to 1/2 an inch. Blues will be 1/2 an inch to an inch. Yellows will be 1 inch to 2 inches. Or, 1 inch to 2 inches. Your reds will be 2 to 5 inches. And then your browns there, we see a lot of that happening for the Gulf states down there. We see that's going to be 5 to 10 inches. So 1/2 an inch to an inch per day on average over the next 10 days. And I even see some blues there for Alabama, and that's going to be 10 inches plus. So over an inch per day, according to this model, which is really crazy, by the way. That is absolutely insane. Total snowfall, I think I still see some snowfall popping up here for Colorado and Utah, but it is very minimal. Even for Canada now, it's getting very minimal. So we are really winding down here as we approach July, which is how it should be. If you're anywhere in the grays, you're expecting a dusting. If anything, blues will be 2 to 6 inches of snowfall, and purples will be 6 to 10. But that's like if you live on top of a mountain in the Rocky Mountains of Canada. So I don't think any of you live there, but if you do, you might be expecting 6 to 10 inches of snowfall. Very interesting. Now, what we're going to do here is we're going to move on. We're going to take a look at that upcoming temperature pattern. Then we're going to dive into that tropical activity. That's going to be what most of this video is going to be about. And then we're going to take a look at some of that severe weather. Now, here is the temperature pattern. We're going to fly through this, guys. We see that today, by the afternoon, we have cooler temperatures in the east, like I mentioned, behind this cold front, below normal temperatures. Out here in the west, we actually see above normal temperatures, though. By the time we reach Wednesday, already this warmth is heading eastward. So we're seeing this really move into the eastern United States already. Let's just go ahead and see what happens here on Thursday. Thursday afternoon, we have mostly a ridge in the east, actually. A bit of a trough, potentially, for the west. Pretty minor, though. But a lot of warmth heading into these regions here. So just like this. By the time I reach Friday, getting even hotter here, especially for the northeast there. Saturday, this is going to be July 2nd. We have mostly warmth throughout most of the United States, actually. It gets a little bit confusing here. This is Sunday, July 3rd. We have some pockets of blue throughout a couple of regions. This is when it just gets really, really confusing. And then we have warmth in between all of those areas. Monday, it's going to be July 4th. We have above normal temperatures for the central and the eastern United States, but below normal temperatures out west. So expect warmer temperatures than your average for most of the United States. And then if you're in the west or one of these blue areas, you can expect a little bit cooler than what's typical. Tuesday, things get even hotter here for the central and the eastern United States. Things start to look really warm in there. See, Wednesday, July 6th, we still see this warmth building in for a lot of these regions in there. Thursday, July 7th, we see that the warmth is kind of backtracking where it's mostly over the western and the central United States. A little bit neutral here is what I'd call it for the east and also the west coast, but a little bit more towards the west. And that's the end of the model run, so that's all we get from this. But at this point, the temperature pattern seems a little bit all over the place, in my opinion. Now let's take a look at the National Hurricane Center real quickly and just dive into the tropical activity. Now, as you can see, we have two areas of code yellow. So we have a area here where we have a 48 within the next 48 hours. I don't know why I'm choking on myself here. 20% chance of development over the next 48 hours. We have a 30% chance of development over the next 5 days with this one in the Gulf, and it's aiming straight towards Texas. We have another disturbance in yellow where there's a 0% chance of development over the next 2 days, but over the next 5 days there's a 20% chance. That's mostly the 3 days after the next 2 days, obviously. Now, we also have potential tropical cyclone 2 here that will likely develop into a tropical storm here very, very shortly is the expectation. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at that satellite imagery. As you can see, it's kind of over the past couple of hours really getting its act together. We could see that earlier on there was a lot of activity spread around all of these regions, as you can see, but it really starts to organize here in this top left corner towards the end, and I think this is it developing into a tropical storm finally. So we're going to see that happen very, very soon. Now let's take a look at the cone forecast for the National Hurricane. And here it is, potential tropical cyclone 2. This was a 5 a.m. update this morning, and we do expect it to become a tropical storm at least by 2 a.m. tomorrow, where it's going to be interacting with South America very, very closely. Again, the more it interacted with South America, the less chance of development. We really see it stay at that tropical storm status from Wednesday all the way till 2 a.m. on Friday, and then 2 a.m. on Sunday, or better yet, Saturday, the National Hurricane Center has it becoming a hurricane before hitting Nicaragua and Costa Rica. So, very interesting stuff there, obviously. Right here over this water, I'm not going to draw on it, but in between South America and Central America, north of Panama, east of Nicaragua, north of Colombia, north and west of Colombia, that water where it gets over open water, it does become a hurricane. It has enough time over that water, apparently. Now, if this was looking to go further north than this, that would be where we would be mostly talking about this potentially, becoming a more impactful hurricane. I mean, I guess if it's expected to become a hurricane, it is expected to be very impactful, but this storm had more potential than even this if it headed further north and didn't interact with South America that much. But at this point, the expectation is that it will interact a lot with South and eventually Central America. Now, let's go ahead and move on and talk about that spaghetti model guidance. Here we are taking a look at our kind of each individual models for this one. And as you can see, mostly we have these models showing it hit somewhere in between here. Now, it still has that chance to go just way further north than the expectation. If it goes much more in line with where these ones take it, if it was to do this, watch out, because that would be a huge north trend first off, and it would develop a lot in that time frame because it would not interact with this land down here. The more it interacts with that land, the less it's going to be able to develop. So that's what we're watching for with this one primarily. It's interesting to note that a lot of this is a lot further north than what the National Hurricane Center actually is predicting at this point. Now, the GFS ensemble model for this one is really far south. We see this one really struggle, and it doesn't even become a stronger storm on this one, matter of fact. This is just really far south. The European model is also very far south. This is much more in line with what the National Hurricane Center is showing. Very, very far south here. We don't have any models really showing it go further north than the average here. Really, really far south, actually, here is what we're seeing mostly. CMC model here, this one goes out a bit further, but this one's a little bit further north than the other models. We do see some development there on some of these, where it gets blue and orange there, and then eventually it heads over the Pacific, which is going to be interesting to see. Usually you see it the other way around, where they'll actually head into the Atlantic from the Pacific, but having them head from the Atlantic to the Pacific, a little bit less common is what I would say. Now, we do have one spaghetti model to show you here for this Gulf system. And as you can see, if I had to draw a cone, I mean, these models say it can hit anywhere in Texas or Louisiana. And that's going to be happening sometime within the next 72 hours. We don't expect this one to really be a strong system to worry about. It's mostly going to be rain and some wind implications, but not really major impacts by any means with this one. Is not really the expectations. It's more of a disturbance. It's going to bring a lot of storminess with it, is our expectations at this point. Now, let's go ahead and talk about this intensity guidance for our tropical cyclone we've been talking about. So here is potential tropical cyclone 2 model intensity guidance, and as you can see, there's a few models that hover us right there around very weak tropical storm status and then bring us out of it. And then there's some, and by some I mean one, that takes us up into major hurricane status at this point. There is a pretty large group that takes us to Category 1/Category 2 status, but the majority, I would say the mean average is something like this, where it gets like very close, but it's mostly a stronger tropical storm. So I think we'll land somewhere in this region here, where we're going to be somewhere between a weak Category 1, which there's no such thing really, but a weaker Category 1, or a very, very strong tropical storm is kind of where I expect this one to end up getting to at this point. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to move on, and we're going to take a look at the upcoming severe weather. Now, here we are taking a look at the Day 1 categorical outlook here, and this is for Tuesday, June 28th, or today. We have 2 general thunderstorm risks there, one that kind of horseshoes around for all the way from the southeast all the way up to the Rockies. And then we have one up there for the upper Midwest and the Great Lakes. This is all where we expect general thunderstorms, but anything is possible, so heed every watch, warning, and advisory. We have 2 darker green regions there. That's going to be our marginal risk areas, and that's where we expect isolated severe weather to occur. And then we have 2 yellow regions there where we expect scattered severe weather to occur, and that's called our slight risk of severe weather. Now, for day 2, it's very similar here, okay? But this is for Wednesday, June 29th. We have 1 general thunderstorm risk there, which is again where we expect general thunderstorms, but anything is possible. We have 2 marginal risks at severe weather, one for the upper Midwest and Great Lakes, and then one there for Montana. That's where we expect isolated severe weather to occur on Wednesday, June 29th. Now for day 3 here, we have 3 general thunderstorm risk areas, one for the southeast, one for the central United States, and then one up there for Maine. And that's again where we expect general thunderstorms, but anything is possible, so heed every watch, warning, and advisory. Then we have 1 darker green region up there for the north central United States, and that's our marginal risk area. So for Thursday, June 30th, we expect isolated severe weather to occur up there. Anyway, for today's confidence tab, we're at a 4 out of 6 still. I really don't feel like moving up until we know for certain what's going to happen with this tropical system. It's so tricky, and I'm just waiting on that. For today's patron highlight of the day, I want to thank you all for supporting the channel, but especially our Platinum patrons, Bill Crates, James Wade, Dovey Nagel, Larry the Pan, Mandy Birchfield, Patrick Strickland, Dave Scott, and Donna Carnes as well. I would also like to thank our Diamond patrons, Bill Roberts, Marcus Connolly, Noah Michael Lessa Catbite, Charles Stinnett, Bill Dallas, Garys, and John Colisi also. I also like to thank our channel members, Catbite, Stephen Fan, and Jeremy Cox as well. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Be sure to smash that like button, leave a comment down below, and subscribe for more weather-related content. I'll see you guys in the next video.